What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. Seeing a Pokemon evolve once is cool, but seeing them evolve twice is even better. However, all too often, this does result in the middle stage being the least prominent of the line, since you fall in love with the base stage and then spend the majority of your time with the final evolution. And let's be honest, most of the middle Pokemon do suffer some growing pains, but some of them are a perfect blend of their other family members. And I did cover this topic, but that was like 5 years ago, so let's take a look at the new top 6 best and worst middle evolutions in Pokemon. Number 6 worst, Morgrem. This will shut some people off already because there are some fans that really like this evolutionary line, but to me this isn't a line at all. I think Impidimp is alright, and even if I don't see the appeal of Grimmsnarl, I can appreciate that it has some fans. The thing is, these Pokemon are not really able to connect the dots. One is scrawny and pink, and the other is hairy, buff, and green. So how are they planning on connecting them? Not well. That's how, since Morgrem falls woefully short of bridging the other two stages, which in my mind is exactly what a middle evolution should do. Morgrem is still far too scrawny and pink like its predecessor, with the only hint at the final stage being the long hair and the green tights. But the greasy hair in no way gives a clue that it will be coating its entire body, and that shade of green clashes horribly with the pink, just proving that the ideas were not meant to be together in the first place. Plus, having that can opener in your hair has got to be rough for airport security. Number 6 best, Lampent. I know people love Chandelure, and I'm not saying that it's bad, but I do kind of prefer Lampent from this line. However, personal feelings aside, I do think that Lampent is a brilliant way to connect these other two Pokemon. Going from a single candle to a bright chandelier could have been an easy step, like going from 1 Magnemite to 3, but that would have been a big jump in terms of human ingenuity. However, throwing Lampent into the mix makes it perfect. An old-timey street gas lamp is an excellent way to link the other two Pokemon on either side of it, and it's also a superb embodiment for a fiery specter. The arm struts popping out are great for characterization in letting it display a surprising amount of personality for a transparent face, but they're also great for showing exactly how it would adhere to a wall or a pole and show ornate decorations at the same time. And even if you never use a Duskstone to evolve it like me, it can still do decent damage with respectable stats for the mid-game, so a great design on a capable fighter makes this luminescent phantom an extraordinary middle stage. Number 5 worst, Staravia. I could easily have put Linoone here because of the ridiculous makeover they forced on it in Generation 8, and I would have been right in doing so. However, an unexpected pick that I think most people would actually agree with is Staravia. Now listen, I love Starly and Staraptor. They are my favorite regional birds to date, but that's why I'm so hard on the middle stage here. It just doesn't fit. The final stage is fierce and powerful, even having Bird of Prey in its name, and that's somehow supposed to come from a dopey chicken trying to pull off an Elvis hairdo? I know that they gave it the Intimidate ability, but that's just a hysterical meme at this point since Staravia couldn't intimidate a napkin. A lot of Pokemon are criticized for just being a bigger version of the last one, but seriously, this is just a stretched out Starly in every way, making it lose that cute appeal that it had, while also failing to properly build up to the threatening Staraptor. Basically, Staravia is the only Pokemon on a standard Sinnoh team that I'm embarrassed to be seen using. Number 5 best, Loudred. The Hoenn region is full of great Pokemon, and plenty of them are 3-stage lines, so we were bound to see some of them on the list. But to me, I think Loudred is probably one of the best. See, starting out, Whismur is just a timid little thing that looks like it has headphones keeping the music to itself. But once it evolves, it gains confidence enough to share and become a living speaker system. And then of course it embraces it even further as a full-blown pipe organ when it evolves into Exploud. I just love how Loudred is the appropriate midpoint in terms of audio equipment, and also has a mini character arc across its evolutions. Kind of like the Bagon line, except that Loudred is a lot less controversial than Shelgon. Along with the massive potential move pool that is a trademark for normal types, I also feel like Loudred could have believably been its own Pokemon. I could totally see it as never evolving, yet it somehow still successfully links the other two Pokemon. So that's really impressive for it to fulfill any possible role that you could want, all while being a giant subwoofer. Number 4 worst, Girder. On the other hand, we have Pokemon like Girder who are pretty out of place. First of all, it's just so ugly and weird. It legitimately looks like a clown with that hair and that nose. Not to mention the bulging veins, which are really disturbing, but those are present on the rest of the family as well. However, speaking of, this Pokemon seems ill-suited for its place in the line. The start of it is wood, which is fine, but then it goes to cold hard steel, and then somehow reverts back to concrete? I get that concrete is hard too, but when they want to reinforce the stuff, they bring in metal. So I've always been confused how Girder jumps the gun and takes the better weapon from its evolution. But fine, if you insist, I guess I could accept it if they made any use of it at all, but Girder was not only completely passed over for the Steelworker ability, which it literally is one, but even worse is that it cannot learn a single Steel-type move. What is the point of this Pokemon's gimmick if it doesn't even use it, huh? Number 4 best, Dragonair. Okay, so you know how I say a good middle stage Pokemon should bridge the gap between the other two? I still believe that, but sometimes it's not the fault of the middle one. If two Pokemon are sufficiently weird and different, then that's probably on the middle one, but if the line is clearly going in a direction and that just gets ignored, like with the Dragonair line, that becomes the fault of the final stage that was too stubborn to play along. So Dragonite's eccentricities are on him. Dragonair is a beautiful continuation of what Dratini started, but as we said before, Dragonair could also be a phenomenal standalone Pokemon, being majestic yet adorable, appearing powerful yet approachable. It can be common enough to be used as a ride Pokemon, yet mysterious enough to have legends about it. All wrapped in a design that could be considered a simple snake, yet it all somehow works for the first dragon type in the series, who could stand on its own, yet even surpasses its evolution since they decided that continuity didn't matter at that point. Number 3 worst, Croconaw. Totodile is my favorite of the Johto starters, and I do love using a powerful Feraligatr in the region. So why in the world did they have to ruin a good thing? Croconaw is a joke! Who in their right mind would have made this look like a caveman? Nothing about the Crocs even hinted at wearing clothes, so what's with the sudden cosplay? The fact that its tunic is similar in coloring to the detailing on the others doesn't make it make sense. I'm surprised at this point it even bothered keeping the red spikes as well. I mean, if you were going to throw it back to the Stone Age, the least you could do is crank up the Rock type, but even Quilava gets Rock type moves with far less connection, and it's a way cooler Pokemon. So in Johto, I try my hardest to over-level in the mid-game so that I can get past this humiliation as soon as possible. But, number 3 best, Braixen. Not all starter middle stages are so bad. I mean, sometimes they are, like Quilladin, or sometimes they just don't quite fit, like I think about Frogadier, but Braixen seems to hit just right. Fennekin is a cute little quadruped, and the final stage, Delphox, is a powerful wizard. So how do we bridge between them? Well, how about a cute standing fox witch? This thing is a realistic progression from the tiny fox before, but now comes with its own magic wand that's set on fire. And truthfully, I do think that Braixen captures the essence of what they were trying to do much better than Delphox does, managing to encapsulate the majesty of it, while maintaining the playful nature. I don't think that it's an accident that Braixen is one of the very few fighters in Pokken Tournament to not be fully evolved, and I do think that it holds its own well, earning its spot in the roster. And honestly, I forget that Braixen isn't yet a psychic type a lot, because it fills that role so well, even without the actual typing. There must just be something about Gen 6 fire types that make good, effective middle evolutions. Number 2 worst, Spupa. Unfortunately, not all middle stages from Kalos could be so successful. It's a trope at this point how Pokemon keep making awful cocoons as middle evolutions, so that probably could have taken up the entire worst half of the list, but to me, Spupa is by far the worst. These other ones at least make some sense, but Spupa is just Scatterbug with a haircut. All they did was shave its head and then cover it in a bunch more dirt. Is that enough to trigger a metamorphosis? Apparently. Other cocoons are fully encased to make these changes instead of just looking like a random dust bunny. Afterwards, we got some great cocoons like a battery and a radar dish, so maybe we had to suffer through this lazy and uninspired design of Spupa for them to improve. And I'm not one to remove a bug type from the Kalos region when they already have so few, but honestly, maybe we would have been better off without the Pokemon trying to pretend to be a cocoon. And I could go on, but the internet has actually run out of pictures of Spupa, so we'll just move on to the next one. Number 2 best, Rhydon. Is this even a question? It's the first Pokemon ever designed, and it's been a classic for decades. And of course, for a long time, it was the final evolution of its line, but it really should have stayed that way. Rhyperior is one of my least favorite Pokemon evolutions from the end of Sinnoh, because it has almost nothing to do with the themes established by Rhyhorn at the beginning. But that's why Rhydon can comfortably claim a spot on this list, because it is so much better than its final form, still deserving to be the biggest and best from its line. Aside from being a better, more realistic standing Rhino, Rhydon is also incredibly strong in its own right, with over 100 in attack, HP, and defense, not to mention the shockingly vast move pool that it gets, like Surf, even though it's 4 times weak to water. So when a middle evolution can hold its own in combat and even surpasses its final form that didn't need to exist anyway, it undoubtedly earns a spot as one of the most renowned middle stages in Pokemon. Number 1 worst, Drizzile. Do I even have to explain why? Really, nobody out there is big on these Galar starters. I mean, they'll probably go down as some of the most forgettable in history, but the Inteleon line by far gets the worst of it to me. Some people do like Sobble, but once it evolved, all momentum was totally lost as it randomly decided to emulate an overly emotional teenager, trying way too hard to look rebellious. It makes no sense. How is an emo face supposed to prepare this lizard for being a secret agent? Drizzile goes out of its way to not conform to the rest of its line, ditching the yellow on both sides of it for an ugly neon green that clashes with its family members and the image that it's trying so hard to push. It also has animations for water balloons that don't mean anything because it doesn't correlate to any specific signature move, nor does that remotely build up to the sniper rifle that Inteleon uses, so clearly they had no idea what was going on with Drizzile and couldn't be bothered to come up with a believable way to transition from a frightened crybaby to an international spy. So they just didn't bother trying and farmed it out to an intern. It seems like starter middle evolutions are either hit or miss, in being really great or just being plain humiliating for how awkward it is for an unavoidable 19 levels. Never have we needed to be able to skip evolutions more. Number 1 best, Bayleaf. But while we're on starters, we might as well talk about one of the best middle evolutions in the series that debuted all the way back in Gen 2. Bayleaf has always been cool, and that's pretty impressive for how uncool its relatives are. I know that some people like Chikorita, but being adorable is very different from being cool. And when it evolves, Bayleaf gets bigger and sharper, and it just has that it factor, you know? And it managed to capture an authority that seems to be lost once it evolves again into Meganium that softens these edges quite a bit, choosing dainty petals instead of, I don't even know what you'd call them, buds maybe, but they are a much better continuation of the spikes that Chikorita started. Not to mention the leaf on its head looks far more menacing than Meganium's antenna, like Bayleaf could actually do some damage to you slashing that thing around and flinging leaves. Now, it might not live up to that image in practice, mostly due to it lacking significant coverage and, you know, being a pure grass type, but the striking imagery makes it one of the best middle evolutions in Pokémon, and this is made even more impressive when you remember how weird and out of place the beta version looked. So to go from that to the sleekest, most threatening, and general coolest member of its evolutionary line makes Bayleaf a triumph of middle Pokemon everywhere, and genuinely makes me stop and consider if I even want to evolve it at all. Take notes from your brethren, Croconaw, these are what successful mid-stages look like. So, those are the top 6 best and worst middle evolutions in Pokemon. Which in-between stages do you view in the extremes? Let me know down in the comments. Also, be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And until next time, stay grounded.